I slipped through the glass door of Brookline Marketing just before 8 p.m., carrying my daughter's trifold science fair display in one hand and a USB drive in the other. The lobby lights were low, the air tinged with lingering printer toner. I paused by the reception desk, where the faint hum of the copier had long since fallen silent. Before I could turn to the staircase, a soft glow drifted from the open meeting room at the end of the corridor. Curiosity nudged me forward. I rounded the corner and froze in the doorway. There, bathed in the cool LED glare of Emily's laptop screen, sat my wife, shoulders curved, voice low and intimate. Across from her leaned Mark, her colleague from the marketing team, his broad frame angled toward her as he pointed to a slide on her presentation. Between them on the table sat an ashtray, its silver rim dusted with gray ash, and beside it, Emily's polished silver pen, our wedding gift, resting uncapped. I tasted the bitterness of my own breath, as if the air held the acrid tang of cigarette smoke. In the hush, I could hear the faint click of Emily's pen as she turned a slide, the soft scrape of Mark's chair on tile, the low thrum of Boston traffic sneaking in through the vent. My heart pounded, each beat louder than the last. She said she'd finished at the office hours ago. I thought she was home grading our daughter's report. My fingertips tightened around the science display, bristles of cardboard pricking my skin. Stay calm. Observe. I forced my shoulders to relax, shifting my weight onto my right foot. Emily and Mark didn't notice, their heads bent together, foreheads nearly touching, as he whispered encouragement, that data chart could use a stronger visual, think bold color. Her laugh, warm and close, stung sharper than any rebuke. I stepped backward, the floor's tile cool beneath my dress shoes, but the room spun. My mind raced, professional support turned secret rendezvous, right here, where we both built our careers. That pen, she used it to sign love notes in her head, not proposals for our future. I blinked against the sudden sting of tears. A low cough escaped me. Mark's chair scraped as he swiveled away, surprise flashing in his eyes. Emily looked up, guilt and panic colliding in her expression. I stood framed by the doorway, science project in hand, watching the final seconds of trust dissolve. Mark cleared his throat. "John, hey. Didn't expect anyone here." His voice was polite but unsteady. He rose, smoothing his tie. I met his gaze, saw the flicker of shame, and felt something within me harden. Emily rose too, brushing ash from the rim of the tray as she closed her laptop with slow deliberation. "John." Her voice cracked in the hush. I swallowed, tasting copper on my tongue. The beat of my heart slowed, replaced by a cold, methodical calm. I slid the science display under my arm and retrieved the USB drive, its plastic casing cool and innocuous in my palm. I laid the drive and the display on the table beside the ashtray and the pen, their silent witnesses. My voice was quiet but firm. I came for the presentation files and to help Claire with her project. I see you've already moved on to other projects. I gestured toward Mark. Good to know Emily's getting extra help. Emily's lips parted, searching for words. Mark cleared his throat again, stepping back. I squared my shoulders and exhaled, tasting resolve instead of despair. "I'll get what I need here," I said, nodding at her laptop. "Then I'll head home." I turned and walked away, each footstep measured, the click of my dress shoes echoing down the corridor. Behind me, the door whispered shut. In the lingering haze of copier toner and ash, I tasted the first notes of a new rhythm, steady, precise, and entirely my own. That night, sleep eluded me. In the dark of our bedroom, I replayed that scene in the conference room, the ashtray's silver rim, Emily's pen abandoned beside it, Mark's sudden slack posture when he noticed me standing there. I stared at our wedding portrait on the nightstand, her head resting on my shoulder, our smiles bright beneath a spray of piped orchids, and felt the weight of every unexamined moment settle on my chest. Our life together had begun so innocently. I remembered our first date at Neptune's Oyster, cold Boston Harbor air, the salt tang on our lips, and how she threw back her head in laughter when I thought I ordered the wrong wine. I joked, "Trust me, I know Chardonnay from Chardonnay," and she'd clinked her glass to mine with a grin that warmed me through and through. Weekends became our canvas. Together we repainted our front porch a crisp ivory white, listening to Woody Guthrie on the radio as she rolled paint with an artist's precision and I scraped away weathered chips. Sunday mornings were sacrosanct, blueberry pancakes, her secret recipe, and coffee dark enough to wake the drowsiest soul. Our daughter, sleepy-eyed and giggling, would join us, dribbling syrup down her chin as we taught her to flip her first pancake. Evenings held their own ritual. After our daughter's bedtime, Emily and I would settle on the couch, her curled into my side, me tracing the line of her hair. We'd share our day's triumphs and stumbles. She'd show me the latest draft of her marketing copy. I'd play her a snippet of the song I was learning on my dad's old guitar. We built our trust note by note, word by word. Yet amid those golden moments, subtle cracks emerged, whispers I dismissed in favor of comfort. It began when Emily started receiving client texts late at night. My phone would buzz at 11:30 p.m., "Can you review slide 4?" I'd peek at the screen and see her colleague's name, and she'd appear moments later, brushing off my concern with a tired smile. "You know how it is, last-minute deadlines." I nodded, believing her fatigue. A week later, I found a $23.50 charge on our joint credit card for officesupplies.com. No explanation came when I asked her. "Just a few extra markers and sticky notes," she said. When the package arrived, a bulk order of scented pens I'd never seen, she laughed it off. "You know how creative teams work." I added it to the inconsequential pile. At our daughter's school fundraiser, I caught sight of Emily's colleague Mark in the crowd, handsome, confident, the kind of childhood friend who always knew just what to say. They exchanged a quick hug that seemed less platonic than I'd expected. Later, I asked Emily about it. She said, "Mark offered to help me set up the slides." I smiled and walked away, though unease prickled at the back of my neck. One evening, I noticed her coat smelled faintly of musky cologne, nothing like her usual citrusy perfume. I pressed my nose to the collar, and the scent drifted sharp and unexpected. When I mentioned it, she slipped her scarf over the coat, touching my arm with a quick apology, "Probably just a friend's cologne." You know how I get when I'm cold. The true turning point came when I overheard a conversation at a neighborhood gathering. I was tying my daughter's shoelace when I caught Emily and Mark's voices behind us, low and intimate. "Mark, let's go over the deck tonight, just you and me." Emily, "Okay, after everyone leaves." Neither saw me there, crouched in my daughter's Crocs. Their conspiratorial tone made my heart stutter. I backed away without revealing myself. That night, I resolved to pay attention. I reopened my dusty workshop notebook and began logging each anomaly with date and time. June 10th, 11:32 p.m., Emily's phone buzzed, "Need help with slide design." I printed bank statements showing meal delivery charges at 9:15 p.m. and marked, "Urgent meeting," in my diary. Beneath each entry, I sketched tiny circles to represent my growing uncertainty. One Saturday afternoon, I borrowed Emily's tablet under the guise of catching up on our shared calendar. In the messaging app, an archived chat with Mark sat waiting. I tapped it open and found messages I hadn't imagined. "Mark, you look stunning at the pitch meeting." Emily, "Thanks, it was a team effort." Mark, "Team effort behind closed doors, right?" My chest clenched. I took screenshots, then cleared the app history, my hands steady with purpose. In the following days, I scrutinized every detail, the way Emily lingered in her office at night, the sudden wave of training sessions she had to attend, and the way Mark's name seemed to echo in her thoughts. I collected the scented pens in a small box, Evidence A. I saved the screenshots on an encrypted folder, Evidence B. I printed the rideshare logs, Evidence C, and slipped them into my locked desk drawer. Yet through it all, I kept my exterior calm. I made dinner, kissed my daughter's forehead, and helped Emily pack her work bag each morning. I watched our rituals with new awareness, noting how her smile at my jokes no longer reached her eyes. Late one night, I sat at my desk with the dusty guitar beside me, the silver pen Emily had left on the edge of the table beside a half-empty glass of water. That pen, our wedding gift, felt heavier now, a token of promises I'd believed unbreakable. I picked it up, turning it in my hand, and whispered to it, "This isn't over." Then I opened my workshop notebook, wrote next steps, and felt the first stirrings of a systematic plan take shape. The morning after I stowed the screenshots and rideshare receipts in my locked desk drawer, I woke with my purpose clearer than any sunrise. The silver pen, Emily's wedding gift, rested on the workbench beside the half-finished music box, its polished barrel reflecting the lamplight as if waiting to chart a new course. I brewed a pot of strong coffee, its bitterness a fitting counterpoint to the lingering taste of betrayal, and carried the steaming mug to my home office. At precisely 9 a.m. I sat in the lobby of Whitman and Reeves Family Law, portfolio clutched in one hand, the music box blueprint tucked beneath my arm. When attorney Laura Whitman greeted me with a firm handshake, I slid my exhibits across her mahogany desk, the cafe photo, the Uber logs, the gourmet delights receipts, the encrypted file of text screenshots, and the box of scented pens I'd labeled Evidence A. She examined each with practiced calm, then looked up. "You've built a strong record," she said. "Under attorney-client privilege, everything you share is protected. Here's our engagement letter." She slid the document toward me, pages outlining her retainer and the scope of representation, drafting custody petitions, filing motions for temporary orders, and guiding me through discovery. "Our next step is to prepare your petition and gather any additional records, security footage, email logs, anything that substantiates your case." I signed, careful not to let my penmanship betray the tremor in my heart. The engagement letter clicked into a folder labeled Privileged, its seal a promise of legal shield around every scrambled emotion I'd catalogued. That afternoon, I called my brother Adam, tech wizard and loyal confidant, and asked for his help installing discrete cameras in our home. Over burgers at the diner where we dissected every comic book plot as kids, I spread out floor plans and sketched angles. "Hallway by her office," I said, tracing a line on the paper, "another in the living room, covering the front door." He nodded, eyebrows raised. "I'll run the cabling through the attic so it's invisible," he promised. I felt a rush of gratitude. Betrayal had thrust me into this role of investigator, and Adam was my steadfast second. By evening, I met Dr. Sophia Leong, my college friend turned psychologist, for a strategy session over tea. In the quiet corner of her study, I described the subtle cues I'd observed, the shift in Emily's posture when Mark's name came up, the way her laughter lost its warmth when I entered the house at night. She listened, brows furrowed, then offered counsel on capturing admissible audio. "If you record conversations in shared spaces where she can't claim expectation of privacy, say, the living room, you can use them as evidence," she advised. "And when you confront her, maintain neutrality. Anger can erode credibility." Her words settled into me like mortar between bricks. I sipped my tea, tasting both its warmth and a mounting determination. Between Adam's cameras and Sophia's behavioral insights, my support network felt both practical and comforting. Evidence preservation and notarization. Saturday arrived crisp and clear. Adam showed up at dawn with two compact, motion-activated cameras in hand. He breezed through the attic entry and routed wires behind the drywall, silent guardians watching the hallway and the living room. The black and white feeds flickered on his tablet, each stamped with date and time. At midday, he tested the night vision mode, eerily clear silhouettes, ready to capture every late-night arrival or whispered conversation. Back in my study, I organized my digital evidence. I backed up the encrypted screenshot file, the Uber logs, and the bank statements onto a new external drive, then copied everything onto two USB keys, each labeled with a cryptic Q1 and Q2 to prevent accidental loss. I verified checksums to ensure no alteration, then locked the drive and keys in a small safe bolted beneath my desk. Monday morning, I met Jenna, our neighbor and part-time notary, at her office. The custody proposal Laura had drafted lay before me. Legal custody, joint decision-making on education and healthcare. Physical custody, primary placement with me, with Emily granted structured visitation. Support, temporary child support per Massachusetts guidelines, and spousal support pending final decree. Next to it, an asset division spreadsheet detailed marital home equity and proposed 60-40th split in my favor, reflecting my primary custody role. Retirement account balances as of filing date. Personal property allocations, workshop tools and the silver pen, the pen I'd used to sign wedding vows, assigned to me, her jewelry and art collection to her. Jenna stamped and signed each page, her seal turning my proposals into notarized instruments. Each embossed impression felt like forging legal armor, documents I could wield to protect my daughter and myself. Financial planning and asset negotiation. That afternoon, I sat with financial planner Simone Ramirez at her downtown office. She spread out the spreadsheet and ran valuation scenarios. We discussed tax implications of home equity transfers and strategies for minimizing capital gains exposure. Home, proposed buyout structure if Emily cedes her share, my preferred route to keep stability for our daughter. Retirement, each party keeps separate accounts with no offset. Savings, freeze joint account, with monthly review to manage childcare expenses. Simone prepared a concise report, complete with projections for the next 5 years, and emailed it directly to Laura. Armed with financial clarity, I felt one more domain of uncertainty solidify into order. Preparing for court. By Wednesday, my study resembled a command center, cameras feeds streaming silently on one monitor, legal emails on another, and the half-finished music box humming to life in my mind as the perfect symbol of both our past and the new future. I practiced my opening statement aloud. On April 20th at 8:45 p.m., Exhibit A, the surveillance camera in the hallway, recorded Ms. Allen entering the house accompanied by Mr. Thompson, rather than returning directly home as she represented. My voice gained strength with each repetition, the tremor of shock faded under the precision of rehearsed facts. Attorney Whitman emailed the hearing date, May 15th at 9 a.m., and a deadline for final exhibits by May 8th. I updated my master exhibit list, double-checked seals on the notarized proposals, and crossed off each preparatory task. The external drive, the USB keys, the safe, the spreadsheets, the notary envelopes, all were in place. Over the course of that week, each step, consulting counsel, enlisting Adam and Sophia, preserving every scrap of proof, notarizing proposals, planning finances, and rehearsing testimony, fortified my resolve. The silver pen, once a talisman of shared creativity, had moved from Emily's desk to my safe, then back into the heart of my narrative, the instrument I'd used to sign documents reclaiming my life. Betrayal's sting had become the catalyst for systematic action, and by the time I switched off my computer that Friday night, I felt ready, no longer adrift in disbelief, but anchored by the deliberate steps I'd taken toward justice. I arrived at Whitman and Reeves' conference room at precisely 9 a.m., the morning sun slicing through the blinds in sharp lines. On the oak table sat 3 objects, the silver pen, Emily's wedding gift, resting beside a small silver ashtray I'd brought from home, and our framed family photo, edges worn from constant handling. I took a slow breath, folded my hands over the pen's cool barrel, and met Emily's eyes across the table, guarded, weary, but unmistakably guilty. Attorney Whitman spoke first, her tone neutral. "We'll review exhibits A through D, then discuss a settlement path." She clicked the remote. Exhibit A appeared, the photo from my surprise prep excursion, Emily and Mark in the office after hours, heads bent together, the ashtray at their elbow. Emily's face went pale. Whitman advanced to Exhibit B, the Uber logs showing 2 rides at 8:45 p.m. and 11:22 p.m. "These confirm Ms. Allen's movements," Whitman said, sliding the printouts toward Emily. Emily's attorney lifted the logs, flicked through them. I watched Emily's gaze drift to our family photo. I reached forward and picked it up. "This was taken last Christmas," I said softly, placing it before Emily. "Our daughter's smile says everything I believed in: joy, trust, family." I tapped the ashtray. "And this," I said, setting it beside the photo, "is where you left your restraint. The pen you used to sign our mortgage, our baby's birth certificate." I picked up the silver pen, "Now rests here, silent witness." Whitman clicked to Exhibit C, the gourmet delights receipts, each time stamped for afternoons Emily claimed she was in strategy meetings. I spread them out, highlighting the mismatches between her calendar and the charges. My voice remained even. "You told me you were at client lunches. Instead, you were meeting him, my friend, the man I trusted." I slid the receipts beneath the ashtray, the silver rim catching the overhead light. Emily flinched but said nothing. Whitman advanced to Exhibit D, the private message logs. "Thanks for staying late with me, you make this presentation shine, can't wait to see you tomorrow." The words scrawled across the screen felt like a confession in neon. Emily's attorney cleared his throat. "We recognize these exhibits, Mr. Allen." I set the pen beside the family photo. "I'm not here to shame you," I said, meeting Emily's eyes. "I'm here to protect our daughter and the life we built." My hand hovered over the silver pen. "I've prepared a settlement proposal based on these facts: joint legal custody, primary physical custody with me, equitable property division, and support terms." I slid the neatly typed settlement sheet across the table. Emily's hand trembled as she reached for the pen, once our symbol of shared creation, now the instrument of her accountability. She signed with a soft exhale, her signature fragile as a new leaf in spring. I followed suit, placing my signature with deliberate calm. Whitman stamped the agreement. No dramatic outburst, just the soft click of pen on paper and the quiet settling of resolve. As I folded the signed sheets, I looked once more at the family photo and the ashtray. The pen remained in Emily's hand, its silver surface now etched with a new purpose. We rose. I offered Emily a brief nod, no warmth, but not cruel, only the steady acknowledgement of what had been lost and what must now be rebuilt. Outside the conference room, sunlight spilled across the hallway. In my pocket, the silver pen clicked softly, its weight both reminder and promise, that from betrayal's smolder, I would write my own future with clarity and strength. A week after the settlement signing, the court's final decree arrived by certified mail. I sat at the kitchen table, where that first anonymous photo had shattered my world, and unfolded the judge's order: joint legal custody affirmed, primary physical custody granted to me, and a clear visitation schedule for Emily. Our home remained mine, with her marital share held in escrow, retirement and savings accounts were split equitably. Child and spousal support were entrusted to direct deposit, ensuring our daughter's needs would never go unmet. I placed the decree beside the silver pen on the counter, its polished barrel now both a relic of broken trust and a tool for new beginnings. Across the room, the framed family photo looked back at me, our daughter's grin undimmed. I exhaled, tasting relief where grief once lingered. That afternoon, I returned to my garage workshop. The half-finished music box waited on the bench, its mechanism still exposed. I picked up chisels and planes and set to work transforming it into a keepsake chest. Each shaving of maple felt like reclaiming a piece of my life. On the lid, I carved 3 simple words: time reclaimed. Inside, I lined the box with soft felt, imagining our daughter tucking in her first dollar from a lemonade stand or a pressed flower from a school project. On Saturday evening, I hosted a backyard dinner for my closest friends, Adam, Sophia, and Tom, who'd guided me through each step. We grilled burgers and traded light-hearted stories under string lights. My daughter darted between us, her laughter bright as ever, clutching a new toy I'd built for her. When she asked to help me light the citronella candles, I handed her the finished keepsake chest and showed her how to open it gently. She placed a smooth river stone inside and said, "For good memories, Daddy." In her eyes, I saw the simple beauty of what truly mattered. Sunday morning dawned gentle and golden. I launched my blog, Blueprints of Resilience, with a post titled, Building Beyond Betrayal. I outlined practical steps, preserving evidence, constructing custody proposals, leaning on a trusted circle, and shared the story of how the music box became a chest of hope. Within hours, messages arrived: "Your calm map gave me direction. I never thought I could rebuild, but you showed me how. Thank you for sharing your strength." A virtual community began to form, bound by shared purpose rather than shared pain. That evening, I walked my daughter to her piano lesson and waited in the lobby, the faint notes of her practice drifting through the door. I held the keepsake chest in my coat pocket, its carved surface warm in my hand. When she emerged, beaming over her first mastery of a Bach piece, she flung her arms around me. I whispered, "You make every time worth reclaiming," and she laughed, her small voice richer than any melody. Back home, I placed the chest on my nightstand beside the silver pen and the finalized decree. In their silent company stood promise, proof, and purpose, the vow we had made, the justice I'd secured, and the resilience I now carried forward. As I turned off the lamp and settled beneath the covers, I felt no leftover bitterness, only the steady rhythm of hope restored and the quiet certainty that the next chapter would be written in my own deliberate hand.